travels in the body, it gets metabolized in the brain or the bone or somewhere, or in the ovary, it goes from the thecal cell, the two middle borders, to the granulosa cell, the bottom right. That's what you do in the first 2 weeks. We're good? Who asked me that question? Sharon. That's what you do in the first 2 weeks. And you can, the earliest birth control pills will estrogen. You can take estrogen and it'll negative feedback and then you won't get but then you'll be at higher risk of breast cancer. After you ovulate, the follicle collapses. The thecal cells and the granulosa cells mix. And after you ovulate, you only do the top 2 boards. You stop at progesterone. That's called the luteal phase. What's up, Hi?
I forgot after taking progesterone, having to stop taking is it protein not present here or
Wait, say that again?
after ovulation?
So after ovulation, there's a distinction between the granulosa and the thecal cells before ovulation, and you'll get all this in the next part of the course. But after ovulation, they mix to form something called a corpus luteum, and they only, I shouldn't say only, you still make some estrogens, right? But you primarily make progesterone. You no longer have a cellular arrangement and the expression of the enzymes that would allow you to make high levels of estrogen.
So the following enzyme is not there.
The enzymes change, correct. Now, here's what you got to work on. The top left board is cholesterol and cholesterol. The top middle board are all progestins. It's not a hormonal term. You can look at a compound and tell me if it's a progestin. I'm not going to tell you hi. Don't ask me in office hours. You have to figure it out. The bottom board are all androgens. You should be able to look at it. I should be able to show you a steroid that you've never seen before, and you tell me whether or not it's an androgen. The top right, top right? Is that the top? Yeah. The top right are all corticoids. In fact, specifically, they're glucocorticoids. Even cortisone is a glucocorticoid, even though it's not an active hormone. Even 11-DOC, I've got to label it, but you know what it is. Even 11-DOC is a corticoid. You should be able to look at a compound and tell me the bottom board's all estrogens. You should be able to look at a compound. A compound can be an estrogen and not have any activity. That's your puzzle. Cholesterol, progestins, androgens. There's more androgens. There's like, in fact, we just tested 19 androgens in my lab. A whole bunch. Estrogens, corticoids, glucocorticoids. You haven't been around with corticoids yet. In 10 minutes, I gotta eat my donuts. All I'm going to do for today is tell you something about the structure. Talk about this stuff later. The HPT is the hypothalamo-pituitary-thyroid axis. Hypothalamo-pituitary-thyroid axis. And don't be sad, there's more steroids. We'll learn those later. These are all the ones you have to know for that. And they're all interconnected, right? You learn one pathway, you can figure them all out. Oh, the one thing I didn't tell you. Aromatase, because it produces an aromatic ring, it's a huge enzyme. It's a 19-nitroxylase. It's a, what do you call it? It's a lyase, and it's an isomerase. And I think it's a single gene. I think it's a big single protein. Here's the easy part. So TRH, thyroid hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, works through this G alpha Q type second messenger, or G protein. So we already did that. We don't have to do that again. So I'll say that again. TRH works through one of these G alpha Q, so it involves the whole calcium PKC pathway. See, I'm not going to make you memorize something we're going to use once. We'll use these things over and over and over and over again. So again, that can make you happy or sad. Because if you learn it the first time, then you're good. If you don't, it'll be sad a bunch. So it stimulates the release of TSH. And get this, TSH is in the same gene family with the gonadotropins. It has the same alpha protein, alpha subunit, but it has a different beta subunit. Okay, this one got crapped up. Right? So remember, one of these was LH, one of these was FSH. TSH is from the same gene family, has the same alpha subunit, but the specificity is conveyed by the beta subunit. How do you think TSH works? Second messenger system. Goes to the thyroid gland. How do you think it works? What second messenger system? But this is what my class is all about. To take what you would know, to figure out something you don't know. That's what being a doctor is all about. It's taking something using stuff you know to figure out something you don't know. You know this in the same family LH and FSH, right? So a good guess would be that TSH works the same way LH and FSH does. It's got to have a similar receptor in the same family. So it works through one of these G-alpha stimulatory proteins that activates CREB and SF1. So you already learned that. LH, FSH, TSH, all in the same family. Even have the same alpha subunit. Can I help you? Are you missing something?
Yeah, I'm looking for a water bottle, sorry.
For what?
A water bottle.
Oh, that should have volleyball. No volleyball over here. All right, so here's a simplified version. And then we'll come back tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, Thursday. So TSH works in the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland, maybe you want to demonstrate mine. I'm going to put chalk all over your. I like to think of the thyroid gland. My lovely assistant will now help you demonstrate. Because I don't like to waste food. So. The thyroid gland is a group of follicles. And when I envision it, you gotta hold them up. Otherwise, people can't see. It's in a bag. It's like a squirrel.
Can't take notes right now. Not too bad you're in my section.
No, we try to get it. Well, you get more than one, right?
I got like 3. Oh, here. Each GSI can.
But no, you gotta hold them together.
Oh.
So the thyroid gland is like, to me, looks like a group of jelly donuts. And so it's a bunch of follicles, and then like chop one open, bite one open, and show them what it looks like.
Who wants to eat a donut? I don't know that.
So if you slice the thyroid gland, which we do in my lab and stuff, it looks like a jelly donut. You see how the go around? Cause it's like a cultural thing. A lot
You're
of
like
people
Vanna White all over again.
think about like a pork bun or a pierogi.
You should have told me. I like pork buns better.
Well,
I'll
I
eat
thought
donuts.
this was more multicultural because everybody's had a jelly donut. And so the thyroid gland, you got to see, I'm working analogies. The dough, so it's a bunch of donuts put together. Are you getting the visual with me? And if you slice the thyroid gland open, the dough is a single set of cells called the follicle cells. It's a single set of cells. And the jelly, the inside, is this acellular thing. And under the microscope, it actually does stain red. Who's had anatomy? Have you seen the thyroid gland and the colloid? Does it stain red? Yeah. So the colloid, what's called the colloid in here, the jelly is this proteinaceous thing called the colloid. The outside, the dough of the donut, are the follicular cells. But the thyroid hormone, you'll see why on Thursday, is actually made in the colloid. It's not made inside the cell. It's made from a prohormone called thyroglobulin. And the thyroglobulin, which is made in the follicular cells, is secreted into the cell. So it's like the dough is making the jelly. It's like the donut's filling itself up. You got the visual? What time?
Anybody want donuts?
I'll take
Oh,
it.
it's only 3:12. Oh, I thought it was out of time. Oh, we got time. Let's make some fireworks.
Blind, that's why I said one thirty.
I just saw the 30 and I was like, oh, it's time for me to get there and go.
So,
So,
donut. Two.
I'll take one.
One, two, sure.
but you're kind of, you get the anatomy and the morphology. So you got these groups of donuts put together. The dough are these columnar cells, and the dough creates the jelly. It secretes the jelly into the middle. That's going to be important for why you get goiters, as you'll see. You probably won't see till Thursday. Let's first talk about how to make thyroid hormone. You guys got all the steroids, right? Okay, I'm going to erase this. Yes, Ann.
What are what is that the entire
The whole thing is the thyroid gland, and each one of these is a jelly donut. So it's like a bunch of jelly donuts stuck together. The dough of the donut is the white part, and then the cell, the dough actually secretes the colloid, and I'll tell you what that is in 1 second. This top board, this is a cell. This is one of these, this is the dough. This is going to be one of these follicle cells. It's one cell layer thick. TSH binds to the outside of the follicular cells. Here's what these follicular cells do. One is they concentrate iodine. They concentrate iodine, which is hard to do, I'll tell you why. It's hard to do because they're concentrated iodine. There's already a lot of iodine in the cell. So how do you get the iodine into the cell against the concentration gradient? No. You've been reading your book. Book's wrong. Dina said active transport. But that's what people used to think. There was an ATP-dependent process. But there was in fact, your book calls it an iodide pump. So that was good. That's good. It's not an iodide pump. It's a sodium iodide symport. So it uses the energy from the sodium gradient, to bring iodide in. And the way I describe this, at least when I was in college, like when you guys go to Pappy's, do you still do this? You got one friend with a fake ID who distracts the bouncer, and then you slip other people in while the bouncers. You guys still do that? Well, that's kind of what the sodium iodide pump is. The sodium can get in, and it slips his buddy in. That's how it kind of works. So then, the iodide has to be organified. Who knows what that means? Okay, good. One year I'm hoping somebody can explain it to me because I have no idea what that means. But here's how you organify iodine. The cell takes glucose 6-phosphate and converts it into glucose 5-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate to glucose 5-phosphate. And it uses that energy to take NADP plus and convert it into NADPH. No? Anybody got issue? Did they stop teaching you in Bio 1 that NADPH was only in plants? Because every year somebody says, isn't NADPH only in plants? That's not true. So do they still teach you that?
No.
Oh, they claim they got it from Bio 1 for years. They must have straightened that out. The NADPH is used to convert oxygen into peroxide. And it's the peroxide that's used to organify the iodine. I have absolutely no idea what organify means, but in the book it usually has a little dot next to it. I can't tell you what that means. But it's organified, which this suggests it's reduced, but I don't really know what that means. Okay. The other thing that happens in this cell is that thyroglobulin, a big glycoprotein, is transcribed, translated. How's that controlled? What do you think? TSH how? Through.
Correct.
Yeah, TKA, Krebs. You guys already know this. We teach class. Except we won't get paid. It's just me. So then, what happens is the thyroglobulin is secreted to the inside of the donut. That's like the jelly. So you end up with this big protein. So the jelly is all thyroglobulin. Well, maybe there's some other stuff in there. There's some enzymes. But the jelly's mostly thyroglobulin. We're good? What time? See, we go with thyroid hormone. What's up? What's your name? What's up, Adam?
Just go to the
Which part?
just that thyroglobulin part.
Oh, it's just transcribed, translated, packaged up, and secreted out of the cell, but out of the cell means into the jelly dough. So the dough is making its own jelly. My mind just works weird. So I have like weird sort of life things that help me understand stuff. It's secreted to inside the follicle. Okay? It's going to be important when I tell you why those people have those big goiters. So this thyroglobulin is a tyrosine-rich protein, glycoprotein. So there's lots of tyrosines on there. So it's a tyrosine-rich protein. It's got a lot of tyrosines. That's the side groups I drew. You see that line going across? That's the main chain, right? That's what the peptide bonds are. And those are the R groups, the side groups. Is that what you call them, R groups? I had a hard time in chemistry. All right. Then this organified iodide, whatever that means, organified. The organified iodide also comes down its gradient into the jelly. Ooh, let me make them a different color. And it starts iodinating, I think that's the word. It starts iodinating these side groups. We're good? Then there's an enzyme in there that starts cutting off side groups. Who knows what that little dot means?
Radical.
Free radical. What's that mean? What's free radical good? Anybody want a free radical? What's wrong with free radicals? What do they do? What? What do they do?
Oxidize.
They're highly reactive. They can damage DNA, cause mutations. So that's why all this happens in the colloid, in the jelly. The cell doesn't want those free radicals in there. And I don't mean like the cell's a person thinking about stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why this all happens in the jelly. It's a very special structure. I can't think of any other structure in the body where you have this closed off thing for this kind of stuff to happen. So then what this free radical does is this free radical, when you cleave these side groups off, it attacks one of the ones that's still on. And so you end up with something that looks like this. You end up with a bunch of those. So I like to think of it, here's another one of my analogies, I like to think of it like a string of pearls. So you end up with a big glycoprotein with a whole lot of thyroid hormones attached via a peptide bond. So you end up with this modified glycoprotein that's got a lot of T4s still on the peptide chain. We're good? what's up?
What did you say regulates the thyroglobulin?
You guys told me what regulates.
Or what did they say?
Who can tell me how the transcription of thyroglobulin is regulated?
Negative feedback.
Who? What? The same way that ACTH and LH and FSH regulate genes, right? So TSH is in the same family with LH and FSH. So it activates a G protein, which activates adenylyl cyclase, which generates cyclic AMP, which activates PKA, which activates CREB, and CREB is a transcription factor. So in the thyroid gland, thyroglobulin is a TSH regulated gene, regulated via CREB, this transcription factor, cyclic AMP response element binding protein, which is in the same family as the steroid receptors. It's in the same family as SF1, which is in the same family as the thyroid hormone receptors, which we'll talk all about later. Then what happens is, after you've done all this, and this part's a little controversial, this part of the cell, the basolateral part, this part of the cell starts taking back up this glycoprotein. So it's not really controversial, but some of the glycoprotein gets cleaved to make thyroid hormone. Some people think in the colloid. Others think it's taken up by these lacunae. Is that the right word? Lacunae? Lacunae? You guys know what that word means? Lacunae? What's it mean? I think that's what it is. So it takes them up, and then some people think that the thyroid hormone is digested inside the cytoplasm, like in a lysosome. Because what happens, sorry, not the thyroid hormone, the thyroglobulin. Because what happens is, you chop this whole thing up, and you end up, the T4 looks like this. So the T4 is a modified amino acid, but it's cleaved from this modified giant glycoprotein. So you make a whole bunch of these, and then either in the colloid or after it's taken back up through the lacunae, I think that's the right word, in the follicle cells, you use a protease to cleave a bunch of these T4s. And in the tissues, in the target tissues, T4 is modified to T3 by pulling off one of those iodines. I think it's the far bottom right. Does that all make sense? Questions? Yes.
So the
I forget your
thyroglobulin,
name.
Dan.
Dan.
So the iodine and the thyroglobulin, they meet in the colloid. So
Correct.
So they're respectively synthesized outside of the colloid, but then join inside the colloid.
The thyroglobulin is transcribed and translated and secreted into the colloid, and the iodide is not pumped, but through a symport comes in, and then it goes down its gradient into the colloid.
Okay.
And presumably there are enzymes in there that attach all these things, so it's not just thyroglobulin. Here, wait. Tanya, Sonia? No, wait, what's your name?
Sharon.
Sharon. Wait, your time. Okay.
So where does the T4 exist? Like that process of cutting off the distant girls?
Well, that's not what's clear. So there may be an enzyme in the colloid that starts cleaving it off. But other, like I think your book says, you start taking back up the modified thyroglobulin, and then there are lysosomes or vesicles in the cytoplasm that actually start cleaving it up. So that when it comes back out the other side, which I believe is the apical side, you have T4 coming out.
So T4 comes out and goes
Those are basolateral side. Sorry?
back into the cells?
Yeah, so this follicle cell, here, I'll try to illustrate that. So this follicle cell will take the thyroglobulin back up. And again, it's not clear. It's either cleaved in the colloid, or it may be cleaved in some vesicle as it's passing through the cytoplasm. But when it comes back out the other side, it's going to be T4. How much time do we have? Okay, 2 minutes. Let me tell you real quick how you get goiter. If you do not have iodine, so in a lot of countries that have poor topsoil, or like around the Great Lakes, it used to be a sign of beauty for the Native Americans here because there's low iodine in the soil. If you don't have iodine, you can't make thyroid hormone. If you can't make thyroid hormone, you have an absence of negative feedback. And as a result, you have lots of TSH. And so those big thyroid glands are both the follicle cells growing, the trophic effect, but it's also the colloid. It's like the jelly is bursting out of your donut. Because you keep making all this thyroglobulin, but no T4 is coming out, so there's no T3, so there's no negative feedback. So that's a perfect, somebody was asking about negative feedback, a beautiful illustration of the importance of negative feedback and of the trophic effects of the hormone. And I'll repeat that all again on Thursday if we went too fast. Yeah.
So T3 does a negative feedback T4.
T4 and T3 are both active, but T3 is more active. You'll learn why on Tuesday. So T3, they're both active, but usually the cells that are a target for thyroid hormone have an enzyme that makes T3, and the T3 has a higher activity. But they're both active.
So we're not skipping steps back at the feedback change.
No, if you give enough T4, you'll get the same effect, but also most tissues convert the T4 to T3. So T4 doesn't do a whole lot. All right, I'll see you guys on Thursday. So we have a good conversation. No more structures on Thursday. No more molecules.
I'm gonna go with notebook approach.